Excellent. Welcome, welcome, welcome. Welcome back to the Installer Show 2025. Here we are, day one, and part of our role as an institute is to basically open up the conversation with really key people in and around the industry. So here we are today. We've had one or two interviews so far, and this is an interview today with Avinash from Trustmark. Avinash, you want to tell us a little bit about Trustmark before we kick off?
Sure. Thanks, Damian. So Trustmark is the only government-endorsed quality scheme for anything to do with home improvements. So that is from all the way from landscape gardening to kitchens, bathrooms, installations, all the way up to solar panels, heat pumps, insulation. So we cover a range of trades.
Sure.
We've got about 18,000 different businesses that are part of Trustmark. But an important part, a core part of what we look to do is to find ways to encourage more tradespeople in the industry to sign on to the quality mark that we represent and work with them to help improve the delivery across the industry and work with organizations like yourselves to tell that message around quality, standards and improvement.
Super stuff. So what role do you play specifically within Trustmark?
So my role is to work with the wider industry group, government, and what you might call corporate sponsors, but large companies, to help them understand a couple of things. How can we get more skills and tradespeople into the industry? Because we know we're short of them in the UK. And then the second thing is, we are very involved in helping home improvements, particularly those that are government funded. And we need to get more people into those trades to support the people whose homes are being improved. And that's the role that we play. So I work with the wider industry to help facilitate the conversations to take place.
Very good. Excellent. Well, today we're here specifically to talk about a piece of research that you guys published very recently.
Yes.
I was lucky enough to be invited along to the Houses of Parliament for the launch, which was an incredibly insightful event, I have to say. BiKBBI as an organisation has been championing Skills Gap and talking about Skills Gap now for almost a decade. And it's great to see other people getting involved in that conversation. But I think research is absolutely key to that. And this is a piece that was commissioned by you guys. Absolutely fantastic read. Do you want to tell us a little bit about this piece of research, and in particular, what did it really reveal to us?
Sure. So, as you said, there's lots of people who've been talking about Skills Gap. And there's been lots of good, positive momentum from the powers that be, government, various other organizations to help increase the number of people who are coming to the industry. However, we found that actually the one voice that doesn't seem to be massively represented is the voice of the small and micro businesses. So the tradespeople who are in people's homes and working, who are finding it difficult to recruit.
And these people are vital in this whole process.
They're 90% of the whole repair, maintenance and improvements industry, as we call it. So 90% of the people who work in the industry don't appear to have a large enough voice that represents the 90% that they operate. So we wanted to bring a voice, give them the voice to be able to inform government decisions and inform how the wider industry, and I say this use the term industry loosely because it involves the large companies, it involves the training organizations, it involves the certification bodies, it involves the schools and other colleges to be able to make this happen. So that was the reason we started with this research. We spoke to about 1,200 odd businesses. That is a very good representative sample. And there were some things that we learned that were obvious and everybody knows, that confirmed. There were some things that we learned that we hadn't quite expected. So the things that we knew, the average age of the individuals who are operating in this sector is north of 50. We've got about 280,000 businesses in this sector, but we reckon the analysis suggests to us that about 40,000 of them, 39,000 of them, are likely to retire.
That's an incredible number.
With not enough people coming in to replace them.
This is the problem.
Yes. So we talk about an aging workforce, but that aging workforce can also be part of the solution, which is what we found very interesting, because they want to come back and help and support the people who are coming in through the industry.
Yeah.
And government and the wider organizations that operate here need to be able to support them being able to do that.
Yeah.
So that's one thing that we learned, which was new, but also something we knew already.
Mm-hmm.
The thing that we also learned that was new was that while it might be obvious to people in the industry, to the wider, to the messaging that is coming across, it's not that clear. So the trades are a very good profession. They're a profession for life. They are in construction, I'm taking in the broader sense, not just installation of kitchens and bathrooms.
Mm-hmm.
The average person can earn a pretty good wage.
Yeah,
businesses turn over, nearly £1 million a year.
Absolutely, yeah.
These are opportunities and messages that don't seem to be landing very well.
Why do you think that is? Why is that?
So I think behaviorally what we have found is that while you can say that this is a long-term career, long-term option, if you're 18, 19, 20 entering the workforce, you have new industries that have come into play. So you didn't have warehousing and Amazon 20 years ago.
Yeah.
You do now have it.
Yeah.
So you can earn a pretty good wage pretty quickly with limited amount of training and get into the workforce and start learning very quickly.
Yeah.
In the construction sector, in kitchens and bathrooms, you're apprentice for a long period of time before you start earning those wages. So I think there's a behavioral shift that has taken place. Secondly, if you go back 10 years, the trades that we're talking about on average paid about 11% more than what they do currently, whereas the other industries that have come in have started to provide employment and increase the salary or income that people get in a short period of time. So there are some of these demographics and dynamics that are taking place, which we didn't know 20 years ago.
Yeah.
We also discovered through the process is how educational institutions are incentivized. So we find that the trades are more difficult to deliver in terms of training within schools. So the cost of delivering them is high.
So it's an economic thing.
So there's an economic thing for organizations. So therefore you don't get people being pushed into that because maths and English are easier to teach because they're cheaper to teach. I'm not saying easier because the subject matter is difficult, but they're actually easier to do.
Yeah.
So there's a whole range of things that are happening there, which means that the message that we want to give out is not landing. Plus, and finally, there's been a push towards sending people to university, and that has manifested itself over the last 20 years.
Yeah.
So you're seeing more of those people going in there.
But
there are good jobs there.
Yeah, but do you think that's changing? I mean, my experience is I think people are thinking differently about vocational training now.
Yes, I do hope so. I mean, if you're in a situation where you go to university and come out with roughly £50,000 of debt, or you go through an apprenticeship program where you're earning as you go along, I think that shift is starting to take place.
Yeah.
But these things take years to become clear and relevant to people. So I think that's an interesting shift that's taking place.
Sure.
The thing that we discovered, which was new to us, was the fact that while on average there is small and micro businesses have 1 to 3 vacancies that they can fill, they are actually taking on less work because they don't have the people. So it's actually a perverse way of the skills shortage manifesting itself. So we're not able to grow as an economy, grow as businesses, because we don't have the people. That's why it's really important to give the voice of the small and micro businesses, because this was not necessarily well understood within the wider sector.
Why do we think the smaller businesses are struggling to bring on apprentices and to grow their businesses then with workforce? Is it an economic thing? Is it the fact that maybe government aren't funding it enough? Do you think government are not supporting the development of apprenticeships? What is it? I mean, because when you look at the funding for training in particular, there does seem to be the funding there for that, doesn't there?
Yeah.
You know, up to 100% funding, right? For,
Yeah.
certainly for fitted interiors, which is our world.
Yeah.
So where do you think it's all going wrong then?
So I think it's a combination of all the things that you've said. So if you were a small micro business, 1 to 2 people, taking on an apprenticeship, or an apprentice, could mean that you are spending up to 40–50% of your time training them.
Yeah.
There is another element, which is we see that apprentices who get to the end point, there's roughly 40% of people who go through all the way through.
Yeah.
So if you're a small and micro business and you're investing time and only 40% of them go through, there's a disincentive for you to actually go out and take on that role.
Yeah,
right?
I hear you. Yeah.
So there is an element of behavior there. The funding is available, but a good tradesperson is not listening to the radio or to the sources that you might think government is using to promote this because they are busy on their job.
Yeah.
So there's an element of that, they just are not engaging with it. So we as an industry need to find ways in which, using channels like what we're using now, the conversations that you have with your finishing and interiors sector, to talk about, you have this opportunity, you have the ability to do it, and find ways to simplify how they can access that money.
Yeah.
A large number of people, roughly 50% of the people we spoke to suggested that they didn't even know these incentives existed.
Yeah, that's incredible. That's a huge number, isn't it?
That is
a huge number. And
yeah.
You can't really blame the micro businesses for almost not even really understanding that it's available, and we're here for that kind of support. We put a lot of effort and time actually into providing these support functions for small businesses, because we understand that there is a challenge for them to take people on. But I think one of the things that we kind of hear is what's in it for me? As a tradesperson, what's in it for me? We understand that there's a skill shortage, but it's not really my problem, as a tradesman. And I think there is some nervousness around the apprenticeship, and the statistics that you've given there, in that 60% of people are not even fulfilling that process. So there's a lot of work to be done there. What do you think we all need to be doing then to kind of change some of that?
So that the question that you asked is, what's in it for me, is the core of how we can break this cycle of making, bringing more skills in. So I think if we can find a way as an industry to give small and micro tradespeople an assurance of a pipeline of work, that in itself will allow them to invest in the skills, because they then know that in order to fulfill that job, they'll need to be able to train people. So I think that is a core part of what the government is trying to do via its various home improvements plans, upgrades that it supports, whether it's through energy efficiency or home upgrade grants and stuff like that. So I think that at its core is a first and fundamental thing that we can do as an industry, and the government can support. What's in it for them, in addition to that, to support apprenticeships, has got to be the opportunity to grow their business outside what they're doing. If you're if you're a good tradesperson today and you're a quality tradesperson, your order book is full. So you don't really need to go out and search for business. But imagine if you could turn that into, we've got a good order book of people, and actually we can turn things around more quickly. It depends a lot on the small and micro businesses' aspirations.
Absolutely,
right? So if they have the aspiration to grow,
this is key.
That's in it. That has got to be the reason why you would want to be.
Do you know what? For me, I think growing is definitely one. But again, that really, as you quite rightly said, it depends on the aspiration of the individual. For me, it's about legacy. When we talk about the ageing workforce, and you've given some numbers there, 50, north of 50, which they're not going to be underneath kitchen work surfaces and sinks and baths forever. At some point the knees are going to give in, or even the will to want to do that every day. So the question for me is, well, what next for you and your business? Do you just close the door and walk away from a 20, 30, 40-year career? Or is there an opportunity for you to perhaps extend that and actually step back and play a different role within your business? Because it's probably a lot more straightforward, with the knowledge that they've got, to be in their late 50s and 60s surveying than it is fitting.
Absolutely.
And that actually, the apprenticeship could be the key to that, for you to continue earning and continue that legacy way beyond your knees.
Absolutely, and we're all living longer.
We are,
and we need that income to support us in our older age. So that is a really good way of actually thinking about it.
Yeah.
And trying to get that message across, especially as the older age group in the workforce is wanting to give back, right?
Yeah.
So this is a way of giving back and still earning an income on an ongoing basis. So that, I think, is a really good way of articulating or framing what we just said.
Absolutely.
In terms of what the opportunity is.
So what do we, listen, this is an incredibly important piece, and for, for anybody that hasn't actually seen this, BiKBBI can certainly drive you towards it. The Trustmark website, you can download that information. It's completely free and available to people to download and view. But what do we need to be doing with this now? This incredible piece of insight, what do we need to be doing with it?
So Trustmark's role is a facilitator in having this kind of conversation. What we would like to be able to do is take what we have found, exactly the way we're talking about it right now, and turn that into working with BiKBBI, working with the rest of the industry, to say, how do we actually make those 4 recommendations that we have identified a reality? First recommendation is, how do we work with the schools, the training providers, to have more people come through? Because one of the fundamental issues that the training providers have been saying to us, an organization in Basingstoke told us that they've got roughly 200 people through training, but not enough people who have got the ability to go and do on-the-job training with tradespeople. So if there's a way that we could link those two, the training sector with tradespeople in a more effective way, that would be a super way to make the recommendations work.
Well, that's incredible. So the call really is on for associations to get out there, talk to their people, educate them as to the benefits of this and why they should be considering it.
Absolutely.
Because, there isn't a lack of appetite for youngsters. I've been out and we've done school programs now for a good few years, and we've never found it difficult to get the interest of young people. The real challenge for us is about how we incentivise and how we support micro businesses to be able to take on an apprentice and create that legacy for them and their businesses.
Yeah, and at a very basic level, just go to your local schools and offer a work experience for a couple of weeks.
Yeah, I like that. That's really good.
The big companies do it. Actually, small and micro businesses can do exactly the same thing, and that then encourages more interest in the trades. And for people to come in and want to participate. So that's one thing I think we could do.
It's simple. It's a simple thing.
It's really simple things, basic things that you could do. The second thing I think we need to do as government, industry coming together, working with small micro businesses, and again I use the word industry as all the people who are involved in it, not only the small and micro businesses. Is actually talk to people about the financial incentives that are available, exactly the same way you have been doing. But get it out there, get that message out there through the conversations that you're having. And then the third thing I would say, while there are 4 recommendations, the third one, which is about trying to create a more joined up sort of recruitment model, which I think is great and very important. I think the fourth one is really important, I think, is how do you connect up, for example, the people who are part of BiKBBI, link them up to the work that the government is funding through energy upgrades. So a classic case is if you are installing underfloor heating as part of improving the heating in your home, well, that's a natural point in time where people should be thinking about kitchens, bathrooms, etc. So how do we bring those organizations and those people together with the funding that is available in the wider context? That is, again, what's in it for me. There's revenue in it.
Very good. Absolutely fantastic. Well, thanks very much for joining us today. I think it's really good, and the conversation just starts today as far as I'm concerned. This is something and a subject that we need to talk about. It needs to be on the agenda of every business. We've got a lot of businesses that kind of sit behind us at the moment that do invest actually in what we try to achieve, but there's a lot more out there, and I think our call to industry is to collaborate, because the key to a lot of this is in collaboration as far as I'm concerned, and supporting the small business to take on an apprentice. That's key.
Absolutely. Thank you. Collaboration is the key, and no one person can or organization can do it on its own. So
amazing. Thank you very much. Good, lovely. Well, lovely to see you. We've got a full lineup later on this afternoon and into Wednesday and Thursday here at the Installer Show 2025. So keep tuned, and these videos will be available to download shortly after broadcast. So if now's not the time, then you can revisit it a little bit later and when it's convenient to you. But as far as today's concerned, thank you very much for joining us. Thank you very much for joining online, and we'll see you later.